the Resources Minister, Matt Canavan, was amongst those attending that conference today there in Melbourne. He joins me now. Thanks for your time this afternoon. How did you go? Did you have to run the gauntlet of protesters, or did you find an underground entrance?
Yeah, I suppose I'm one of the lucky ones, I suppose, PC. I got to give great credit and thanks to the professionalism and diligence of the Australian Federal Police. So, yes, I came through the basement. But look, I've got no problem with people protesting. All power to them to have their say, but obviously I don't support, and people shouldn't be breaking the law or trying to stop other people going about their day.
Fair enough. Let's look at your portfolio areas. The government today announced $1 billion for the Clean Energy Finance Corporation. It can invest in this money in hydro, gas, batteries, renewables, anything but coal. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, mate, look, that's the provisions of the Clean Energy Finance Corporation. They're focused on those types of investments, as you've mentioned. We have other schemes to look at investments in baseload and dispatchable power through the Underwriting New Generation Investment Program, including investments in coal, like one at the Vales Point coal-fired power station at the moment. So it's different horses for different courses, David. And I support investment in all types of power. We have an undersupply of power in Australia, and we should be seeking to return to an abundance of power like we once had. And to do that, we need investments in all types.
So just break that down for me. We know you are a supporter of coal-fired power. What is the government doing for coal-fired power right now? Yeah,
look, as I mentioned, we are making an upgrade at the Vales Point coal-fired power station that will help extend its life. We are about to conduct a study.
Has that been agreed? You're actually going to pay for the upgrade?
Yeah, that was one of the 12 projects announced before the election in the Underwriting New Generation Investment Scheme.
Has that been decided to actually go ahead with that Vales Point upgrade?
Well, you'd have to talk to the Energy Minister about its precise status.
Well,
in terms
he
of
says no decisions yet.
The owners with the owners of Vales Point, but it was an announced policy, was an announced program under that UNGI scheme before the election, along with some gas projects and pumped hydro. And as I was going to say, we're kicking off a study on energy needs in central and north Queensland. We'll look at coal-fired power options as well. We do have an issue there, particularly over the next decade, to support aluminium jobs. And I'm very focused on trying to find a way to keep our manufacturing jobs in Australia.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Labor Party
just to be clear on this, though, so there's two projects here. Vales Point is the coal upgrade, and you're right, that was on this list of 12. But today the Minister said these 12 will be funded by the $1 billion they're putting into the CEFC. That can't include coal. So what's the go with the Vales Point upgrade?
So it's part of the Underwriting New Generation Investment Scheme, which is a separate scheme and has separate funding available for it. That's obviously not part of the Clean Energy Finance Corporation.
Okay, so that will receive government underwriting.
That's under that scheme. That's right, David.
And the COLLINSVILLE project, this is a new coal-fired power station that's being proposed around roughly $2 billion in cost. There will be a feasibility study, but that won't begin until next year?
Well, that's still, we're working through that. It's going to kick off at some point soon. It was something we announced before the election, and we've been working with the proponents there, as well as the broader needs, as I said, of central and north Queensland. We don't have a baseload power station in this country north of Rockhampton, near where I live. There's a lot of country north of Rocky. And all of the reliable power has to come up from down south. There's a lot of jobs in Townsville, places like Townsville, in refining and smelting, and want to try and keep those. And to do that, we need affordable power. And if you don't support coal-fired power in this country, you do not support thousands of manufacturing jobs. If we do not keep coal-fired power going, we will lose our ability to make many things that we should otherwise be doing. What would happen if we get rid of coal-fired power stations?
If that's the case, why is this taking so long on the Collinsville project? And are you concerned the government's taking too long?
No, I wouldn't characterise it as that. There's work to be done. The specific proposal at Collinsville is not bankable at this stage. It needs some work to find contracts and work up customers. So that's the work we need to do, and I am desperate to get that going as soon as possible. We needed, in my view, a coal-fired power station yesterday, but as the old Chinese proverb goes, the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The second best time is now.
Well, given that, what are the chances, realistically, of this coal-fired power station ever being built?
I think it's got a really good chance. I've spoken to lots of customers who are desperate for this type of power, certainly investors in the region. I was only in Japan a couple of weeks ago speaking to many. They're very interested in the opportunities there. This is also, it's not a new idea. Wayne Swan actually commissioned an engineering study of a Collinsville coal-fired power station, which showed it could bring prices down significantly in North Queensland and would have a positive net present value. The Queensland Department of Environment and Energy only 2 years ago themselves commissioned a study which showed it would stack up with a wholesale power price much, much lower than what is prevailing in markets today. It's something that's certainly...
yeah, okay, but it needs taxpayer support to work. Is this the issue you had?
There's a fine distinction here, though, David. I mean, there's a fine distinction. There's one aspect to try and help projects like that at the early stage to get their studies done and those sort of things, and that's what we're talking to the proponents about. I mean, that's no different from what we provide through ARENA for lots of renewable energy projects. And then there's another issue about the long-term certainty that's required for projects like this. Rod Sims made this point in his, the ACCC's review, that often at the moment in electricity markets you can get contracts for 5 years or so, but beyond 5 years it's very hard. And obviously a project like a coal-fired power station or any large power station needs a payback period of longer than 5 years, and the market's struggling to provide that ability to finance those high capex projects at the moment, and
which
that's
is where the
gap is in the role for government.
Might be a purchase guarantee for longer than that. Now, look, is this the issue you had the blow up with the Prime Minister over the other day in his office, where some harsh words were exchanged?
Look, there were quite a few things wrong in that story. I'm not going to go into blow-by-blow accounts with conversations I have with colleagues. As I said, though, I am a forceful and passionate advocate for jobs in my home state. But things are progressing well on the project, and I'm very, very happy.
Okay, but I think you have conceded you might have used some unsavoury language in that exchange that people could hear.
I can't actually recall using that phrase, to be honest. But as I say, I am sometimes pretty passionate. I don't really make an apology.
And are we right to assume this was?
I think the people.
Okay, but
I think the people.
This was about your passionate support for coal. Is that what it was about?
Oh no, it's not about coal. It's a passionate support for jobs, David. I mean, that's it might sound a bit trite, but
everyone supports jobs. Everyone supports jobs. Anthony Albanese got a whole speech yesterday about jobs. This is about coal.
It might no, it's not. That's not right. It might sound a bit trite, but. I mean, 5 children I've got, and I want them to have an opportunity to stay in regional Queensland, because so many of our young people today who live in Rocky, who live in Townsville or Mackay, are almost forced to go to places like here. And Melbourne's a great place, great city, but I want them to at least have a chance and opportunity to live in regional Queensland, and they're not going to have that opportunity without jobs. And if you don't have affordable energy, if you don't support projects in the coal industry like Adani, there ain't going to be the jobs, and they're going to have to go to capital cities. And that's why I'm in politics. I got involved in this, and I spend so much time away from my family, because I hope that I can make a difference and build a better future, build our country, build our nation, so we don't just keep getting stacked up in Sydney and Melbourne. These are great cities, but we have too many people who live in our major cities. We should be developing the rest of our nation.
Just finally, one of the toughest issues in your...
See there, I can do it. I can be passionate, David, without even swearing too. There you go. So
I know you can. I know you can. I
can do it. I'll do I need to.
Just finally on the drought, tough for many of those where you live, and we know many parts of Queensland, New South Wales. You sit in Cabinet. Can you just clear this up? Do farmers lose their farm household allowance after 4 years or not?
Look, there is a bit of confusion here, and like any payment of this kind, there's lots of details. The current system is that farmers can access this household allowance payment for 4 years during their lifetime, if you like, their career farming. We're seeking to change the scheme in Parliament such that it can be 4 years in every 10. Last year, we did provide a supplement payment on top of what people were getting. to help out given the severity of this drought. And in the changes we're taking to Parliament, we'll also be providing a payment to those who end the scheme at the end of that 4-year period, a payment of $13,000 for a couple. There will also be the provision in legislation to allow additional supplemental payments to be made to families that aren't in the 4 years in subsequent years by the Agricultural Minister.
So the bottom line, should farmers take that money, if it is legislated, and think about leaving the farm, or should they hold on in the expectation the government's going to keep offering these bonus payments?
Well, look, these are hardship payments, really. So the total payment is in the order of, I think, $20,000 to $30,000, depending on single or couple a year. No one is saying that this is a payment that helps people over the long term. It's a relief payment to try and get people through hard times. I'm not in the business of trying to encourage or incentivise people to leave farming. I want more Australians to get into farming and grow that part of our economy. But we do, of course, recognise that sometimes people, businesses, life decisions change and tough decisions have to be made. We're just trying to make that as easy as possible through the assistance we provide. Right. It's tough, and this drought is very tough, and we've got to just keep trying to provide as much assistance as we can and increase our assistance as the drought gets more severe.
Matt Canavan, Resources Minister, thanks very much for joining me this afternoon.
Thanks, Beezy. Have a good one.